Okay, with great siyata d'shmaya, we're moving on to our next section. After the previous Mishnah, where Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai had given his students, he empowered them really by giving them a mindset of who they are and sending them out on a mission to discover the proper path. Now they've come into their own, and each of them has statements they wish to share with us. So we're starting in the second Perek, Mishnah Yud. Hem amru shlosha devarim. Now each of these Talmidim said three things. And then it goes on to state, today we're going to learn Rabbi Eliezer, what he says. So just the introduction of Hem amru shlosha devarim is interesting in and of itself. Of the five, four actually do say three things. Today we're going to learn Rabbi Eliezer, who says 4 or 5 things. So question number one really is, why does Rabbi Eliezer say 3 things? It introduces as if it's going to say 3 things, but then actually says more than 3. That's point number one. Point number 2 is, why does it need to bother telling us they say 3 things? We can count for ourselves. We don't need the encouragement of the Mishnah to say ahead of time. Now we know from Gemara that whenever it gives a number in the Gemara, then it's always coming to teach a klal. Sometimes there's an exception to that klal. But either way, whenever the Gemara says a number, there's a reason for it proceeding with a number. So when it says here the number 3, what's the number 3 coming to teach us? So there's different interpretations and different mafarshim, but I want to read to you, I want to explain the Maharal's view, because I think the Maharal is very interesting. The Maharal always is the king of numbers. He likes to get deeper insights into what numbers are. This is more of a pragmatic reason, but I think it's an important one to understand. You see, the number 1 is very easy for us to recall and remember. So is the number 2. The number 3 is the last of our list, where it's still easy for us to remember something and hold it all together. Because when you have 3, then you have a 3 aspects, like you have the one side and the other side and the neutral side in the middle. But once you have 4, then the mind naturally tries to group it into 2 groups of 2. Shnaim Shem Arba. And then it's harder for a person to remember or comprehend or hold on or own a concept of something which is more than 3. So the Maharal says that throughout Pirkei Avos, there's an agenda of trying to be concise, and hold the major concept that we're trying to hold into 3. Because 3 is where the mind is able to see the links between them and hold the whole concept in together. Now, in this particular Mishnah, the Maharal says, what's the link that holds it together? So the Maharal says, and this is a theme that he uses in many places, that there's 3 facets of man. There's a way that a man relates to others, ben adam lechavero. There's a way that a man relates to himself, ben adam la'atzmo. And there was a way that the man relates to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, ben adam al-makom. That's very easy for us to see, that tripod of me to others, me to myself, and me to Hashem. When you look in just in a brief way at what these 3 injunctions of Rabbi Eliezer are, so the first one is Ben Adam Lachavero, Yihi Kavod Chavercha Chaviv Alecha Keshelach, referring to how to relate to others. Va'al Tehi Noach Lichos, you within your own midas, your own character traits, you shouldn't get angry. And the third one is about doing tshuva and returning to Hashem, which is Ben Adam Al-Makom. What the continuation is, we're not going to address today, but those 3 things. So that's just the introduction as to why the Mishnah introduces Hem Amru Shlosha Devarim. Why was it important to mention the 3 things? Because it's always important for us when there's 3 things to retain that knowledge, and it's easy for us to see a pattern amongst 3. Once it goes beyond 3, it's harder for us to see a flow and see a pattern. That's a general introduction. Now, within this particularly Rabbi Eliezer, we need to get a deeper understanding of the 3 things that he's saying. Is there any underlying theme between these 3 things that he's saying? How do these 3 things connect back to who Rabbi Eliezer was? That's a bonus if we can do that, but we're going to try and do that to see how the core of who Rabbi Eliezer was, how that's expressed in these 3 instructions that he's giving. And they also seem quite simplistic, each of the 3. The first one basically says, be a nice guy to others. The second one basically says, don't get angry. And the third one basically says, do tshuva. Now we have many psukim in the Torah that say you should be nice to other people. There are many psukim in the Torah that speak about not getting angry. And there are many psukim in the Torah that speak about tshuva. So what was the unique element that Rabbi Eliezer was giving us over here? So question number 1, how are these 3 connected to each other? Question number 2, how are these 3 connected back to who Rabbi Eliezer was? And question number 3 is, what is the chiddush of these 3? They seem to be all very simplistic things that are being taught. That's our 3 questions we're going to try and address. Again, we're following Maharal. If you only ask 3 questions and you're able to hold it all together. Okay, so question number 1, or statement number 1 that Rabbi Eliezer is teaching. Yihi kavod chavercha chaviv alecha kashelach. Now there's 3 parts to this statement. There's the having honor to your friend. There's the emotion that you have towards it, which is the chavivus, the sweetness. And then there's the comparison that you make it like your own. Right, those are the 3 elements that we have over here. Yihi kavod chavercha, the honor of your friend. Point number 2, what emotions you feel towards it? Chaviv alecha. You feel a sweetness to it, a preciousness. And then point number 3 is, and like what? What are we comparing it to? Like your own. Now this is quite similar to another pasuk that we're familiar with, which is v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, which also has those 3 elements. It has the reacha, the friend. It has the emotion that you're feeling, which is the love. And then it also has the comparison to yourself. Now it's interesting, both in that pasuk of v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha and in this statement of Rabbi Eliezer of Yihi kavod chavercha kavod elech v'shalach, there's a presupposition. There's something which we're supposing even before we begin. The Torah is presuming that you love yourself, and Rabbi Eliezer is presuming that you seek honor, or that you honor yourself. You have a measure of honor towards yourself. Now that point causes some people to be uncomfortable, because honor surely is what we're supposed to be running away from. As we know later on in Pirkei Avos, it says that one of the 3 things that take a person out of the world is honor, meaning you're not supposed to be seeking honor. So I'm a little confused now. Is it supposed to be that we're not looking for honor and that's a bad thing and we're supposed to be running away from honor? Or in this Mishnah we see that it's presumed that you have a high level of honor towards yourself, and that's the measuring stick which we're using, the honor that you have towards yourself, that's the measuring stick that we're using on how to relate to other people. So we can hear there's a bit of an issue here. How do we understand honor? Unless we understand there's 2 types of honor. There's a negative type of an honor and there's a positive type of an honor. The negative type of an honor is where you look to other people to give you honor. A positive honor is where you don't need other people to give you honor. You have an inherent recognition of your honor without other people needing to be aware of it, just because you know that you are worthy. And this is a very, very important point. Let me just give an example of this. Imagine you have a person who has a super ego. He goes around showing off to everyone else how amazing he is. Do you know I wrote this? And you see I did that? And you know what I've done? And you know what I've accomplished? And you know who I am and who I'm related to? And I'm the great-grandson of. And he has lots of things that he's showing off to everybody else in order to ensure that they know who he is. And once they've given him that like, and they've given him that sense of approval, now he feels worthy. Now, that's not a very great self-esteem. That's what we would call other esteem, where he only gets a sense of self from other people recognizing it. That's bad. That means he doesn't have recognition of who he is. He's seeking honor, but he's seeking it in the wrong way, because he doesn't have a recognition that he has his own honor, that he has inherent value, and therefore he's spending his life trying to recompensate for that honor that he's lacking from within, the good type, and therefore he's looking for everyone else to give him honor to make him feel worthwhile. That's what the Mishnah speaks about later on, where it says it takes you out of the world because you aren't in control of yourself. That's a bad thing. There's another negative way this may be expressed, which is not the super ego, but rather the shmata. The shmata is the same core where he doesn't have any recognition of his own esteem. He doesn't have a sense of self. And therefore, because he's scared that people may trample on him because he doesn't know who he is, so therefore he just tramples himself. And he just says, I'm worthless, I'm not worth anything, don't try and say anything good to me because there's no one here to speak to. Both emanate from the same core. If not having a sense of one's own honor, kavod ha'adam, in a healthy way, and therefore either A, he tries to forcefully get it from other people, which is seeking honor, which is a bad thing, or he just gives up on the whole matter. He figures if I depreciate myself, then it won't harm me won't be painful if other people depreciate me. And that's the shmata. So either way, it's looking for honor from the outside or giving up on the topic of honor. But so let's just clarify that point. Is honor a good thing or a bad thing? If you have an inherent sense of your own value, it's a very, very good thing. And we will speak about this in more depth when we do the beginning of the 4th Perek. Hashem should help us to get that far. When we speak about that topic of honor in more depth, when it speaks there about Ezehu Chacham, and then one of them is Ezehu Mechubad. So there in more depth, we'll elaborate on that topic of what real honor is. But in a nutshell, real honor is when you have a recognition of your own inherent value and you're expressing what's truly inherently who you are. And you're not arrogant about it. You're just aware of it and using it to bring around the Kiddush Hashem in the world. But you're happy that you have it. You're not proud and showing off. You don't need to show off because you're comfortable with who you are. Once you're comfortable with who you are, you won't need other people to make you comfortable about who you are because you are already comfortable in your own skin. Now, all that is a prerequisite for what we're speaking about now, stage number 2. In order for you to give honor to other people, you first have to have an honor of yourself, where you're aware of who you are and comfortable with who you are. Now, why do you need that? It's obvious. Because if you're not confident in your own honor, if you're not comfortable with who you are, then you're not going to be ready to start giving other people honor because you'll feel that it's at your expense. You'll feel, give him honor, what about me? Oy vavoy. How could they be honoring him? Don't they know who I am? Meaning, when a person is not comfortable in who he is, he gets very edgy and very competitive about other people having honor. He's not comfortable with that because he feels that it's at his expense. But when he's very comfortable about who he is, he has no issue of making other people feel comfortable as well. He says, well, I'm comfortable about who I am. I don't need other people to give me an ego trip. I'm comfortable, so now I can praise other people freely and recognize other people's strengths and comment on it because it doesn't shake me. It doesn't mean that I'm a lost case, only they are worthy and I'm not. So, point number 1 that Rabbi Eliezer Hagadol, Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurkon is stating is, Ihi kavod chavercha, chaviv alech kashelach. Prerequisite is that you have a recognition of your own inner honor. You're not looking to other people to give you that honor. Point number 2 is, how do you feel towards your honor? Chavivus. It's not something you're arrogant about. It's something which it's precious to you. It's sweet to you. You're happy with it. Someone who has his own honor in a healthy manner, if he does something wrong, that doesn't bother him too much. He's not worried about that. Just like if you have a child who breaks something, you say, oh, this terror, isn't he cute? What do you mean? He just spilt everything on the floor and he broke something. How are you saying this big terror, isn't he cute? But it can go together because when you're comfortable with who he is and you love him, it doesn't bother you. It bothers you technically that something was broken, but you still love him at his essence. You still love him at his core. So it doesn't bother you that something external went wrong. So just like towards yourself, you're very forgiving and you love yourself greatly once you have a healthy self-esteem. And even if you do something wrong, you would say, okay, but that doesn't define me. That's not the essence of who I am. That's how you should relate to other people as well. You should have a chavivus towards them, a sweetness towards them. And when they do something which is inappropriate, you still see their core as being good. You still see their core as being sweet. And you see anything negative as external. So that's the first phrase, Yihi kavod chavercha. The honor that you give to others should be with a chavivus. I mean, you love them, you have a great relationship with them because it's not shaking you at your core because you're comfortable with who you are. And then you're able to relate to them in a good manner, in a healthy manner. And even if they do something wrong, it doesn't shake you too much because you're comfortable, just like with yourself, you're comfortable with them as well. That's point number 1. There's the Shem will tie it all together at the end. Now, point number 2, al tehi noach lichos. Now this, I want to give a little bit of a chabur on this topic because I feel the topic of anger is something which is not broadly understood in a healthy manner. And let's go into it a little depth. And again, we're trying to understand why what Rabbi Eliezer is teaching us is not basics, rather it's something with more depth to it. So we're going to learn Rambam together. Rambam says 2 things which seem to contradict one another. We're in Rambam, Hilchos Deos, Perek Aleph, Halacha Daled. And this is the famous Rambam about the golden mean. Derech ha-yeshara hi midah ha-beinonis. The straight path for a man to take is the middle path. Shebekol deya v'deya Mikol hadayot sheyesh lo la'adam. Every midah that a person has, you should always follow the middle path, which is in between the two extremes, not going off to one extreme. Ketzad, and now he gives an example. And this example might sound familiar to you from our Mishnah. Lo yeheh ba'al chema noach lichos. You shouldn't be noach lichos. That's from our Mishnah. You shouldn't be easy, quick to get angry. Now you might think, well, there's no other side here. You should never be angry. But the Rambam does say another side. V'lo kamet she'einu margish. But you also shouldn't be like someone who's dead, who doesn't have any feelings. Ela benoni. So even regarding the middle of anger, the Rambam says you should take the middle path. And what is the middle path of anger, says the Rambam? Lo yichos ela al davar hagadol shera'ui lichos alav. You should only ever get angry about something really big, worthy of getting anger on, in order that it won't happen again in the future. So now, let's hear very carefully the Rambam's words. There is a time to get angry. Not regularly, only on big things. So when me and you are hearing this, we're saying, okay, I can handle that. That means normally about small things I won't get angry. But if someone really, really, really winds me up, and it's a really big thing, then I've got the Rambam over here who says I shouldn't be like a dead person who doesn't feel anything. I'm justified to get angry about that. And that's even Meduak in the Mishnah. It doesn't say never be angry. It says lo noach lichos. It shouldn't be easy for you to get angry, but if you're really worked up, then you should get angry. If we would stop there, that would be the end, and we would have half a picture, and unfortunately your wives and children would suffer as a result. So let's continue and read the Mishnah and the Rambam in the next Perek, where he gives us the next side to this matter. And lichora, it's a contradiction. So the Rambam now in Perek Beis Halacha Gimel seems to contradict himself. He says, Yesh deyos shasur linhog behen bebenonios. There are some traits which is forbidden for you to take that middle path. Ela yitrachak ad katzeh ha'acher. Rather, you should distance yourself all the way to the one extreme. And there are two things Rambam puts in this category. Number one, gova halev, arrogance. There's no room for arrogance at all. A person should go all the way over to being extremely, extremely humble, like it says by Moshe Rabbeinu, anav me'od. And the Chazal tell us, me'od me'od have shafel ruach. That's example number one. What's example number two? The chena kas, and so to anger. They are ra'ahi ad od. Anger is a very bad trait. You should distance yourself all the way to the extreme and train yourself never to get angry. You should never get angry. Vafilu al davar shera'ui. This is word for word the opposite of what he said in the last parak. And even about something which is worthy that you get angry about, you should not get angry about it. But what about a mashgiach ruchani in the yeshiva? Is he allowed to get angry? Is there special permission for a mashgiach ruchani? Yes, thankfully. Baruch Hashem. Otherwise, I don't know what I would do with myself. So here it is. Ve'im ratza lahatil ema al banav v'bnei metor latzibur. But if you want to show your anger, and I'll say it in his words, if you want to show fear over, you could hear my son in the background, you saw Moshe, the fear that I've placed on him screaming away. And if you want to show your fear on your family or on the community, if you have, if you're a parnes, meaning you're in charge of the community, you have a positive intent where you want to show anger so that you can make them do tshuva, then yireh atzmo bifnehem shukweis. You should do a show. You should do a hatzaga. Do a play where you pretend as if you're angry. Kedei liyasram, in order to put them in their place. But you within yourself, in your own mind, you're calm. You're just making a show. Just play as if you're angry, but really you're not angry. I remember till this day very clearly, Rabbi Rivlin, the Mashgiach Shlita of previous fame of Kerem V'Yavneh, once heard that there were people taking extra schnitzels in the Chadaroch. And when later people, presumably from Rabbi Blachman's shir, were coming to the Chadar Ochel, and there was no schnitzels left by the time they would come, and there was not enough food. Now, they knew how many people were enrolled in the yeshiva, and they were making enough schnitzels, but there were people taking doubles, where they would line up, and then they would go and line up again, and they would get another one, and then there was not enough food left over. So Rabbi Rivlin came into the Chadar Ochel, and he started screaming. I don't know if you've ever seen Rav Rivlin scream. His face went red, and his hair was sticking out, and he was waving his arms, and he was screaming, "Behemoths, behemoths!" We're taking extra schnitzels, and and it was scary. It was really scary. And he was saying very, very clearly, do not be selfish, only take one schnitzel, leave for everyone else, be concerned with the people. And then, as he was finished and about to storm out, he was totally calm, and he winked, and he said, "Ani lo koes, ani rak mareh et atzmi ki'ilu." I'm not angry, I'm just pretending as if I am. And he walked out, and everyone burst out laughing. And it had the perfect desired effect. Because on the one hand, we were really scared. What are the consequences going to be of a raving madman who has our future at stake? He could throw us out of yeshiva for taking an extra schnitzel. He was really angry. And then, in order to teach us a lesson in midas, he, in a switch of a second, winked and said, "I'm not angry, just doing a show, but you need to hear that lesson." And he walked. It was brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. With my children, till this day, I do that same trick. I show them that I'm angry if they're doing something which is inappropriate. And then a second later, I laugh with them and joke around with them, and we're way back to normal. And they know, okay, Abba's being the Abba now, taking on that Abba role that he has to put on in order to have harmony in the home or rules in the home. Let's follow along with it. And then right back to friendly, loving Abba. So we have a great understanding of the second section of the Rambam, Baruch Hashem, but we have a stira in the Rambam. The first Rambam clearly said that there are big things worthy of getting angry over. The second Rambam clearly said even important things you should not get angry over, only ever do a show. How do we resolve it? The Lechem Mishnah comes to our aid, and he resolves this stira in the Rambam. The Lechem Mishnah says, when it speaks about really big things at the beginning, it's talking about Chilul Hashem. That's the example it's talking about. And when it speaks in the second chapter about things, even big things you should never get angry about, that's when it's talking about your own personal anger. So that means to say, if we're going with the Lechem Mishnah, like this, you shouldn't be so calm and so easygoing that nothing in the world matters to you. And even when really important things like Kiddush Hashem or Chilul Hashem take place, you're adish. How do you say adish in English? You're indifferent. You're totally indifferent, because that shows you don't have any values. You're not. That's what the Rambam calls a mate she'enu margish, someone who's dead, who doesn't have any feelings. You have to get angry and not a show. You have to allow it to affect your core because you believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And if a Chilul Hashem is taking place, you can't let that happen. You have to make a big fuss and make a big scene about it, in order, not just a show, but because generally it's a cause which is close to your heart. That's a really big thing. It's Hashem. That's worthwhile getting angry about. However, the second paragraph is talking about your own midas. There is nothing ever that justifies you getting angry ever about you. About Hashem, there is, says the Lechem Mishnah. But about you, there's nothing ever worthy of you getting angry about. Whatever it is. Now, this example I like to give frequently. The person who could most easily have got angry was Yosef against his brothers. He had every right to be angry at them. He had every right to take revenge against them. But he was living in a world of Hashem, of Emunah in Hashem. And it was obviously clear to him, even though it wasn't clear to them, that he hadn't feelings of revenge. Rather, he just said, Hashem put me here. Okay, you are the shlichim, and that's between you and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But why should I be angry? It's bad enough that something bad happened to me. Should I add extra measures of harm to myself by me getting angry? Anger, the only thing it does is cause the victim to become a victim. But you don't have to remain a victim. You could get out of being a victim by saying, that's between you and Hashem, but I'm continuing my life in a good way. And if there's a loss, I'll take you to Beis Din. I don't have to get angry as a result. So Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol, his message to us is, it's normal to get angry. It's something that happens. If you have time in your own time, please read the Rabbeinu Yonah here, who says it's normal to get angry. It's a natural state of man. You don't have to worry about it. But what we're speaking against here, and the Rambam also says this, is that you shouldn't bring yourself to a state where you're looking to get angry. where you're accepting anger in your heart to the point where it overtakes you. If you feel emotion of anger building up, that's a very normal feeling. And that's why he doesn't say in the Mishnah, don't get angry, because that would be asking you to do something superhuman. It doesn't say that. Rather it says, Al ti'eh noach lichos. Don't let it be easy for you to get angry. Fight it. Don't allow that to become your second nature. And like the Rambam says, it's achievable. You can reach that point where even though your initial emotion of anger builds up, you won't allow it to frustrate you too much. Just a quick quote from the Rambam over here to show you his point, his deal that he makes inside. Al tachin atzmacha lekas. Don't prepare yourself for anger. Meaning you can overcome it, but don't be in a place where you're looking to pick a fight. You're looking to be angry at the other person. You're waiting for the frustration. And then you're saying, this justifies all my negative emotions. Don't go there. Al tachin atzmacha. And the quote from Rabbeinu Yonah is, it's well known that anger is very, very bad. Ach teva b'nei adam liot nimshach acharav. But it is the nature of man to go after it. And therefore, only in cases where it's for the Kiddush Hashem, like we saw in the Lechem Mishnah, there you're allowed to express it, where it's not about you. However, in all other cases, he says, pause, tishkol b'moznei sichlecha, and evaluate in your mind, does it justify, is it worthwhile getting angry? And if you bring yourself to that pause, if you're able to take pause and think, what am I going to gain from getting angry? And you'll realize that you'll lose your sense of das and you won't fix anything. You'll maybe be able to pause it in time. That Rabbeinu Yonah is a brilliant Rabbeinu Yonah. He's understanding your emotion. He's saying it's normal to feel such a thing. But he's also saying, but you don't have to allow yourself to get carried away. Rather, you can use das. You can think it through. And you may still choose to get angry, and that's fine. You've thought it through. But it's more likely than not that you'll decide it's not worth my while. All it's saying here is don't be quick to anger. That's point number 2 of Rabbi Eliezer Agoda. Now, point number 3. Shuv yom echad lifnei mitatecha. You should do tshuva one day before one dies. Now, the question obviously here, which the Mefarshim ask is, how do you know which day you're going to die? You have no idea which day you're going to die, which they asked Rabbi Eliezer Agoda himself in the Medrash. And Rabbi Eliezer answered, exactly, you don't know which day you're going to die, and therefore you have to do tshuva every day. And then the Mefarshim asked, so why didn't you just say that? Well, what is this whole, I did a riddle, and you asked the question, and then I said, you see, that was what I was alluding to. Now just be yashar. Aren't we looking for the derech ha-yashar here? So be yashar and just say, do tshuva every day. And that would be what you mean to say. But no, there's something much more depth going on behind here. And I want to elaborate on this a little bit. There are times where people in life, not every individual experiences this, but I'm sure you've heard stories where a person has a near-death experience and they almost lose their life. And they start contemplating, oh my gosh, I almost died. What does that mean? What is my life really worth? What are my values? And this whole change of mindset where they say, I almost died. I started thinking, what's life really worth? And then with that contemplation, they decide to make changes in their life. There's a mindset which a person has, which they don't like to think about death. It's a very uncomfortable topic. We like to push it away as much as possible. The proof of that is that when we hear that someone dies, we get a big shock. How could it be? How could it be? And then we say, well, how old was he? And we say, oh, he was 89. Oh, okay, fine. That's okay. That's a long time from now. A long way in the future. I'm okay for a good another 60 years or so. That's fine. But then, chas v'shalom, if we hear someone younger, then it really shakes us. Oh my gosh, he's younger than me. Meaning this could happen to me as well. Let me try not to think about that. Okay, not relevant to me, Baruch Hashem, quickly move on from there. People don't like to think about it. And the reason they don't like to think about it is because it means that they have to lead their lives on a higher, more meaningful level, and they're leaving their lives at now. People like to have the mindset of, I am going to do tshuva, I will be good, but I have time for that. What's the rush? I don't have to invest in being a tzaddik yesod olam today. I could be a tzaddik olam when I'm like 90. That's a good time. Doesn't it say something about being a tzaddik, Moshe Rabbeinu, 120 was a tzaddik, something like that. Okay, so I have time. I don't have to rush. That's not a mindset that people would verbalize. But if a person is honest with themselves
and does a cheshbon nefesh, that's basically what's going on within himself. He doesn't like to talk about death. He is interested in doing tshuva in general, but it doesn't have to be right this moment. He could do tshuva like with time. There's a while till Yom Kippur, and there's more time till Yom Kippur the year after that. So I actually have plenty of time to keep going for now. No rush. So Rabbi Eliezer didn't want to say do tshuva today and do tshuva every day, because then a person would be in that mindset of, I have today, I have tomorrow, I have the day after. Rather, Rabbi Eliezer wanted to shake us into a mindset of, this may be the last day of your life. You may not have another day. Now pause for a moment and think, if this really was the last day of your life, what would you do? Who would you apologize to? Who would you make up with? What would you resolve? What would you try and fix? What would you learn? And if you knew you had 2 months or 3 months, then what would you do? My daughter read me a beautiful letter of a bocher yeshiva who had cancer. And he realized that he had 3 months to live, and he wasn't going to be able to finish all the things that he wanted to finish. So he wrote a letter to a close friend of his saying, please, can you apologize to this person for me? Please apologize to this person to me. Please, can you resolve that for me? Please, can the Chabura, my group of friends, can they learn this and this for me? Because I realize I'm not going to be able to do it. And even though I could have done it in my lifetime, I could have taken it on as a project earlier. I was always pushing it off, but now I realize I'm not going to manage to do it. So he wrote a whole letter of all the things he would like to accomplish. And he said, I'm starting to do these things now. And he started apologizing and learning, but he realized he wouldn't be able to finish his goals because he was given a short lease on life. And therefore he asked his group of friends if they could continue it for him. And then he also asked them to publish it, that if he got this message of close to death experience and he's now functioning on a much higher level, maybe other people can take that message too. So imagine for a moment that really this was your last moment or last year or whatever it is. How would you live your life differently? What would you do different? Now, you don't have to wait for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to give you a near-death experience for this to happen. You could learn from many other people who have had near-death experiences, and you could say, oh my gosh, I don't want to have to go through that myself. Let me right now, this very day, think to myself, if I were to lead my life on the highest level possible, if I were to lead my life at my ideal desired state, at the best that I could possibly be, then how would that look? Now don't wait for a near-death experience for that to happen. Shuv yom echad lifnei midatecha. Imagine this is the last day, and then lead your life on that level. That's a mindset which if a person pauses after this shiur, and they do a cheshbon nefesh, and they say, what would I really do if I knew I didn't have much time left? I wouldn't waste my break times. I would make up with my sister. I would start a program of learning Kol HaTorah Kula. I would start what I have to do today in order to do that. The negative trait that I've been pushing off for a few years now of not working on, I would find out clear, concrete steps on how to overcome it. I would apologize to that teacher in school that I know and they know I did wrong to, but I don't have the guts to really go and bring it up again. There's a lot of things that I would do immediately, and I wouldn't keep pushing all those things off with a kind of a guilty, hoping it will pass and realizing that's going to go on from that for years. Don't wait for the near-death experience. Do that today. At least start the planning today. We've finished the 3 points now. I just want to summarize what is the common theme that underlies all of these 3 ideas, and how does that tie back to who Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol really was. When we first started this series, I think it was the first year actually of this entire series, we told the story of Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol. And we told the story of how his father didn't believe in him. And his father said, it's too late for you. You're already 28 years old. There's no hope for someone like you to start a Torah career at this age. But maybe, marry and have kids and send them to yeshiva. And then there's hope for you in that. And he could not take that mindset. He started fasting and crying because he believed in himself much more than his father believed in him. Eventually, until a point where Eliyahu Hanavi came to him and believed in him. And then he went up to Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai and he started learning Torah. And we described how that trait that Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol had of having great belief in himself, that what he's doing has value, is what enabled him to remember all the Torah that he was always learning. That's what made him a bor sud, she'einu ma'abed tipa, because he realized every word of Torah that he's hearing is from Hashem directly. It's something of inherent value. When lower level people are involved in avodas amidas or in mitzvahs or in Torah learning, They believe that it's important, but not at 100%. And therefore they do learn, but it doesn't matter if I forget it. When Rabbi Eliezer, who realized every moment is the most crucial moment, he doesn't want to give up anything, and he has real belief in himself, when he leaves his life on that level, he doesn't forget a thing, because everything is precious. He's living his life at every moment. This is his entire life, what his whole life is for. So when Rabbi Eliezer is giving instruction on what the purpose of life is, he gives 3 points. One ben adam lachavero, one ben adam la'atzmo, and one ben adam la'makom, all of them emanating from this core sense of self of who he, Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol, really was. The first point was that when you have a core sense of belief in yourself, then from that chavivus of who you are, your belief in yourself, you can go out and influence others, and you can have respect for others. That was who Rabbi Eliezer himself was. He had that core belief in himself, even when other people told him he wasn't able to do it. Even Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said, you haven't learned Mishnah, you haven't learned Shema, you don't know how to bench. He said, well, I'll start now, and I'll start learning 2 a day. And he started with that belief in himself. And that enabled him to have Talmidim who he believed in afterwards, and have a generations of Torah that followed afterwards in light of him. That was point number 1. Once you have a core belief in yourself, you can have honor for other people as well. Point number 2, how do you overcome anger? How do you overcome not getting stuck on those petty things in life? Not getting frustrated by someone who offended you? Well, if you're leading your life that every moment is connected to a higher level, you are aware that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has brought you here this moment, because this moment is what's crucial. And you're aware of a core sense of self, who you are, and what you have to bring into the world, then you won't get angry about those small things. They're too petty, they're too insignificant. Just like Yosef was aware that he was sent down by HaKadosh Baruch Hu to this world for a mission. So if you are aware that you are sent down to this world for a mission, then you don't get upset or frustrated about small things. It doesn't bother you at all. You have such a core sense of mission, of drive, of recognition of who you are in this world, that you rise above those small things. There's only one thing that will get you angry, and that's what the Lechem Mishnah said, if it's a Chilul Hashem taking place, because your core sense of self emanates from Hashem. And if that's being uprooted, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name is being desecrated in this world, that you will get angry about, very angry about, because that's the core of who you are. But anything about you and other people, that doesn't frustrate you. What's it worth getting frustrated about? You do like what the Rabbeinu Yonah says. You do a simple equation. What am I going to gain by getting angry? Not much, nothing. What am I going to lose by getting angry? I'm going to lose my relationship with this person. I'm going to lose my emotional state of mind right now. And it's not going to gain me anything as far as making the situation better. You'll be able to do that quick calculation because you're connected to something higher. You're involved in a mission. You recognize deeply who you are. You're Kiddush Hashem, bringing Hashem's name into the world. And obviously the third point is that he led his life with the recognition that every moment may be his last moment. And therefore he was leading his life as if this may be his last day on the world. And therefore he was always activated on a high form. He didn't have downtime. He didn't have wasted time. Maybe he had downtime if it was for the sake of reconnecting to a higher part. But he never had mochin de katzlut, as they say in the world of Kabbalah. He never had this small-minded, petty state of mind because he was connected to a higher form, a higher sense of mind. So that's Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol, who he was, why that led him to never forget his learning, and his 3 points of instruction for us about how we can not lead our life on a basic level, on a simple level, on a pathetic level of getting caught up on small things and our own honor is at stake. So we're fighting other people to get recognition or thinking we have plenty of time to do things in the future. So I'll just waste time now. All of those emanate from a sense of life isn't really worth living. Life isn't something great and valuable. Rabbi Eliezer's message was life is valuable. Life is so valuable that I believe in myself at my core and I'm able to give respect to other people because it doesn't uproot me. Life is so valuable that it's not worth getting angry about small things, only about Kiddush Hashem and Chilul Hashem. Life is so valuable that I lead my life at every moment as if this is what I have, as if this is the most important thing. There's nothing else more important. This may be my last day in the world. That was Rabbi Eliezer's mission to us, his mission, his message to us. And with us adopting this mindset, we could be more productive in life, have more satisfaction in life, and fulfill our mission here in this world, being devoted to HaKadosh Baruch Hu on a higher level. Rabbi Eliezer ben Hokanas, thank you.